Welcome back to Go Produce My Crew. My name is Big Lou, and this is the podcast and YouTube channel that explores how music industry professionals turn their passions into profit. We are on a massive mission to bring clarity to the music industry, and our goal is to help 1 million music industry professionals live off of their passion. I'm laying down the foundation that I need in order to thrive in the music industry, and I want to help you do the same. This episode is brought to you by thecharts.com. If you're a producer or beat maker looking to build your beat commerce business in less time, thecharts.com can help. With an easy-to-use, mobile-friendly interface and built-in marketing tools, thecharts.com will help you grow your brand, build your fan base, and scale your income. Sign up for free and start selling your beats and instrumentals today on thecharts.com. Today's theme is how to actually make money off of your music as an artist. Let's go. Craig Dodge is an award-winning film, television, video game composer, and audio designer. His music is currently heard in over 170 films and television shows, airing daily in over 120 countries worldwide. Craig has composed music for over 1,000 episodes for television, scored 45 video games, acted as the lead audio designer for the projects, and scored 27 films. He's a dedicated music educator who teaches at Hollins College School of Performing Arts, a Berklee College of Music affiliated school. And Craig is also the founder and co-owner of Terra Studios and Ignite Your Music Career. Go Produce. This is Craig Dodge.
Hey guys, how are you?
We're doing super well. Thank you so much for being here. I want you to know that we do very much appreciate your time. So let's go ahead and make the most of this and go produce. Yes, we've got the basics. I like to dance, and it appears like you like to dance too. We're going to get along.
Hell yeah.
All right, Craig. So the basics is a nice, easy transition into the meat of the interview. We're just going to start with some nice, lighter questions. My favorite of these is, what is your first musical memory?
Getting my first cassette recorder when I was probably about 6 years old, and Elvis in Hawaii concert came on TV. I had 2 channels growing up in Newfoundland. I'm from Newfoundland. And me sticking that little 8-cent microphone, probably that's what it was back then, up to the TV, probably, and recording that on a cassette, first cassette I've ever saw in my life. I think when I was 6 years old, and from then on, I was a diehard Elvis fan and went into Kiss and Bay City Rollers and all this stuff that everybody went through. And yeah, that was my first kind of real. I wrote my first song when I was 7 or 8 years old. It was crap, but hey, you got to start somewhere.
Was that influenced by Elvis as well?
No, probably a girl. Usually.
A girl. 7 or 8 started young, hey? So what was your favorite Elvis song at that point in time?
I'm trying to remember now. That's a good question. Maybe
Way back.
In the Ghetto. In the Ghetto, man. In the Ghetto.
In the Ghetto. I'm gonna have to check it out later on. I do not recall this right now, but Elvis, he did change the game, the music industry, no?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
He was the man back in the day.
I'd definitely say so. What is the
I'm dating myself.
We don't have to go into age. We don't have to throw you under the bus like that. What is, since you've been in the game for quite some time, I'm curious, what is the first lesson you've ever learned within the industry? You probably wrote your first couple of songs and you probably had a couple of favorite artists up until then, but when did you start learning business-wise stuff?
Business stuff actually was something completely different from music. I was in a different business. When I graduated with my first degree, I quit music because I was so tired of sitting in a practice room for 6-7 hours a day playing guitar and getting cooped up, and I want to have a normal life. But so I kind of left music for about a year back in, I don't know, I guess in 96, 97. I just stopped for a year to take a break, and I got into other businesses, just working for other people just to see what it was like. And one of the first lessons I learned was don't kind of let stuff sit on your desk. There's stuff that comes up in business every day. Not all of it is nice and fun. A good part of it is, hopefully, but there's always negative stuff that you got to deal with. So jump on the stuff right away and don't hold back. And I know I deal with that on a daily basis. I just got to deal for a new show with National Geographic. And, there was a couple of different copyright and publishing issues. And I was on the forefront of what I had to do on my desk, and I just kind of held back a little bit. But I always think, just get it done. If you're worried to do it or scared to do it, that means you should do it right away, and then get that stuff off your plate and then get on to the good stuff.
That's fascinating. I was about to ask you what tips or strategies you use to apply to almost achieve that mindset. But you touched on it a little bit in the sense that you said that moment that you feel that emotion that you kind of have to hold back, that you're almost hesitant to move forward, is when you actually have to leap forward. Do you have any tips or tricks around that specifically? Like count to 3, and if you like, by the time you get to 3, you have to start moving. I've heard of that. Is there anything you use in particular?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you got to look at things from all angles for sure. And in this business, the music business, which is ever evolving, I mean, in the last year and a half, 2 years, it's been evolving even more in different ways. So just step back and kind of have a look at things, see what the impacts are going to be. And this could be for singers, songwriters, bands, artists, composers, whatever it might be, any flavor. But especially now, since we are in more control of our careers than ever, gone are those 70s days where they're picking you up in limos and taking you to the Ritz. And it should be like that. We should be looked at as people who are just starting a regular career, like a mechanic or a house painter or anybody else,
Still people. Yep.
We're still people. And that's one of the reasons why we get disrespected a lot in the industry, because we have this kind of thing that hangs over our head where we think we're gifted and we think, we should be looked after. And those days are really gone.
Like you're deserved, like someone owes you something.
So, musicians should learn business. They should learn this. They should learn that. But yeah, take a step back, look at it, see what the impacts are business-wise, what's good for you. And sometimes, like I said, there are things you've got to do that, are not the nicest things that you have to do, but it's better to go forward and head on with them. And if you're dealing with people that are really understanding business people in any industry you're dealing with, they get that too.
Yep. So. I watched a video very recently. It was Mike Tyson. He quoted, or he was in an interview, and he said that there are so many things that he hates doing in order to have achieved what he's done, but he convinces himself that he actually loves doing it. And unless you can get yourself in the position where you thrive in that area, it's going to be very hard for you to move forward, especially in this world. I mean, like, you can become a mechanic and work for someone else and not have to go through these entrepreneurial battles that you will as an independent artist. I suppose that's the route for like record labels, but that's a different approach.
Well, this is it. I mean, I go back to this mechanic thing all the time because my dad was one, I guess. But, what about you open a mechanic shop and you love doing, working on car doors. But, this week there's a couple of people come in and they've got a problem with the brakes. And you're like, I don't really want to work on brakes. Okay, well, you just lost business. B, what kind of mechanic are you? So again, as musicians, I try to teach people in our Ignite program, don't think you're releasing a single or an album and that's it. You're looking for Spotify stuff. You're looking for radio play. Great. If you're only doing one thing, you're missing out on 35 to 40 other revenue streams. And that goes back to the mechanic who just does car doors. You know what I mean? Makes no sense. If they want to fix your windshield, they should be able to do that. Your wipers, your seats, whatever it might be. And that's the way artists should look at stuff today.
Versatility is strength.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's, hey, listen, if you just write a song and you put your heart and soul into it and all you get out of it is, some streams and some radio play, that's great. Hopefully you get a lot. But if you can get licenses for film, TV, games, podcasts, audiobooks, theme song, anything that's out there, there's all these revenue streams that you're missing out on if you just had that narrow focus.
Yeah, money literally on the table. But we will get further into that. I'm very curious to learn more about what you've got going on there. Final question for the basics is, what is the greatest challenge that you, Craig Dodge, currently face outside of COVID? We don't want to go that way.
Time is really the biggest challenge. I literally have so many briefs. I could write 24 hours a day and still not, get enough music out there to all the people who are looking for it. So time is
problem, hey?
No, it doesn't, but you're always trying to kind of help or kind of touch each person all the time so that you're like yesterday, for example, I finished up some cues for a major network in Canada. I was working on some demos. So I got that out, wait for the okay on that. In the meantime, this new show that I'm working on that's coming out in the second season, get the demo to them. So you're always kind of trying to feed everybody something so that you're still in the game. Because if you just say no to a major network or a TV show, big or small, doesn't matter, they're not going to come back and ask you again. That's just the way it works. So time is really the thing. Organization, I've got that figured out, I think now. That was early days, that was tough. But technology's helped that. But yeah, just time. Time is a big one. Managing time. I mean, I'm sure all musicians have that issue.
That's an ongoing, I bet that's an ongoing challenge. I mean, at no point in your career, I feel like will you, I'm speaking through my observations, but I don't think anyone fully can manage all of their energy to the T every day. I mean,
No.
there's so many
No.
different factors that just come into play, but it's very
Yeah.
realistic. I like
Yeah,
that.
it'd be nice to have some. I sometimes you got to get through that part where you feel guilty about taking a rest. You know.
Yeah. What have you ever considered staying relevant with the few networks that you want to maintain the relationship with so that you can almost buy back your time? Or is that not for you right
No,
now?
no, it's not for me right now. I try to. I get the way I look at business is. So, for example, say I had 3 clients. Well, if one changes their model tomorrow and all of a sudden they left, I've only got 2. So that's 1/3 of my business gone. Whereas if I've got 50 clients and I lost 5, I've still got 45 clients.
Yeah. Yeah. You're still out here.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. I like that. Craig, thank you so much for the basics. We're going to be moving very swiftly into the next round. The next round is called the speed round. Pew, 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 pew.
Hey, I finally got a Zoom there. Good sound. Like that.
Hey, nice. It's
Thank you.
working.
It's
Working.
nice
Killer,
to be
man.
appreciated for once. Thank you.
Hey.
He's not so grumpy. Craig, we're doing a good job. We're doing a good job today. Fantastic. So, okay, so come on. We're off to such a great start. Craig, the speed round, what this looks like is I'm going to throw 20 different questions at you, and you are tasked to answer them with only one-word responses. Okay, it's rapid fire. At the end of the round, we do have the opportunity to clarify any of them, but during it, it's just yes, no, this, that, maybe, both, neither, whatever. Okay.
No swear words.
I mean, like if it slips, it slips. All right. For the speed round, we're ready to go. You ready?
I'm set, man.
Ready, set, go. Do you have any hobbies unrelated to music?
Yeah.
Music editors love being part of the creative process.
Yes. Hell yes.
What is your favorite animal or plant?
Birds. I love birds. I would have been an ornithologist.
Whoa. Who is an artist that you currently find the most exciting?
Oh, currently. Paolo Nutini is one of my favorites.
Paolo Nutini.
Paolo Nutini.
Nutini. Okay.
Look him up.
A typical song can yield how many different revenue streams?
Oh, 50 plus easily. 50 plus.
What is your favorite time of day?
Probably 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock.
At the end of the day, you want a nice big glass of?
Nothing really. Water. I drink a lot of water.
Same Z's. Music libraries are great places to start submitting music.
Hell yes.
Hell yeah. What is your favorite genre of music to listen to?
All kinds. I write all kinds, so all kinds.
Yeah, it's not fair to me to ask you that.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Jazz. I'm jazz. I'm the worst jazz player in the world. I love jazz.
That's so many more words than one.
I know. Shit. One.
Do you prefer to read or to watch movies or shows?
Read.
Composers are taking their back catalogs to create new soundscapes to appeal to new markets. Is this true?
Yes, it is.
Wow. Did you know that, composers? Do you operate on island time, being in PEI?
All time.
Do you have any nicknames, Craig?
Yeah. Tilt.
Tilt.
Yeah.
Does manipulating art like this destroy it?
No.
Is water wet?
Hell yeah.
If we learn from our mistakes, then why are we afraid to make them?
Don't know. Mistakes are
question.
good. Means you tried.
You tried. Singer-songwriters are writing multiple sets of lyrics for their songs.
Yes.
That's truly bizarre, but maybe it's not so bizarre. To be or not to be?
Be.
Do you like sunsets or sunrises?
Sunrise.
And then recurring revenue can change the game for creators.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You made it through the speed round. That's what it is. Nice.
Only one dirty word. That's good, man.
Only one dirty word.
It's a good day.
We made it through. So I do have a couple that I do want to clarify on. However, before we ask that, I'm curious to know, did any stick out to you that you would like to clarify on?
Yeah, the Paolo Nutini one. Nobody knows who this guy is. Look up Paolo Nutini. Adele calls him the world's best songwriter. I've went to Toronto twice to see him, met him, hung out with his band for a while.
Yeah.
He sells out Wembley like weeks on end.
Wow.
Nobody knows him. you'll know them when you hear the songs, but none of my students in my classes know them.
Yeah.
But check them out.
That's super interesting. Okay, I will definitely have to do that. We will get them in the show notes as well, so in case anyone else is interested. You gave us go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
You gave us a resounding yes when I asked you music libraries are great places to start submitting music. Can you share a little bit about that? We're gonna talk about more of your programs further on, but just a little bit here.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that leave a lot of music, good music, mostly on their hard drives. And I go back to the analogy, a record I produced a few years ago for a woman. It came out, and back then it was pre-internet and Spotify and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of the copies just sat there. I've done that a few times with people. So libraries, they need content. I look at the world as one big content bubble. If you can get one little bit in there into that content bubble, you'll be paid for the rest of your life. And that's what music libraries are good for. Artists forget something, is that they have something that the whole world needs. There's thousands of TV channels, networks, all this stuff out there, games, podcasts, whatever it might be. So music libraries are a good way to start. Exclusive and non-exclusive, some are both. And I look at them as my agents. I don't fly to LA every week, or Chicago, or Toronto, and obviously in the last year or so you can't. But so they act as my agents. I get paid upfront fees. I get paid, with my SOCAN or PRO fees, royalties. So yeah, and it builds credibility. So it's a no-brainer not to do it. And a lot of artists some of them don't know about it. Some of them don't want to do it because it's a lot of work. You and I just talked earlier about a lot of work. If you're in this music business, to not put the time in, don't bother. That's the way I look at it. You've got to do the work. All the small stuff, all the big stuff is the fun stuff. All the small stuff is stuff that really kind of keeps it all going.
Yeah. Not only do you have to lay the foundation down brick by brick, but you got to mix that cement. You got to buy the cement. You got to find the location. There's a lot of background things that you may not be super aware of. Sweet. I've got another one that I want to clarify. As I was doing a little bit of research, I came across people almost against the fact that you can diversify your music, like one song, write different lyrics, because they say that you're manipulating art. You're making a business out of it.
Right.
What is your response to that?
Say a couple. For my first one would be ask Andy Warhol about that. But the second bit would be, do I want to go work? Do I want to sit in my nice studio and work for networks or work for film people or whoever it might be every day? Or do I want to have to go out and work, a regular job? So I look at it as two ways. That money that I get from doing stuff like, creating dark country music today for a TV show, or rock stuff for a sports show later on today, that's one part of it. And then on the side, I get to do the stuff that I really love to do, and that funds it. So it could be, a solo record I'm thinking about putting out. I love manipulating sound and creating sound packs and sound design. Mm-hmm. And I get bored with just doing one thing. So that's why doing sound design is cool. And then doing sound effects for game, and then a film score, and then teaching, and then my online teaching. And I like doing lots, but yeah, if you write one set of lyrics, that's great. I think everybody should have their projects as that's their thing, and they work hard at it. And I agree with that 100%. But if you look deeper into your music, you'll see there's way more little bits and pieces inside there that can make you money on the other side of that, which don't impact, maybe shows or gigs or streams and that sort of stuff. I'd rather make a full-time living at music than make a little bit of a living at music, or a half-time living at music.
You can still create as a hobby.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
look how many.
And a hobby.
Sure, and
awesome.
Look how many singer-songwriters or rock stars lend their voices to Disney movies, or
same
voiceover things for cartoons. It's the same concept. If you're still doing art.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Very nice. I like that. Thank you for laying it out so clearly for us. Our next segment, moving on swiftly, like I said earlier, so I got to come up with new transitions, is What's Yo Take? Yes. What's Yo Take? So serious. Yeah, we're going to get a little bit into some heavier discussion here. What we're going to do is I'm going to present you with different statements or scenarios, and we solely want your perspective around it.
Okay.
Cool. What's your take on online subscription-based services?
I'm okay with that stuff. You mean like streaming services, learning services, teaching services, that sort of thing?
More so teaching services, more so around how you provide it.
I like them because one of the things I learned a few years ago, I was writing a book to get my Ignite program before, like 3 years ago. I was doing some interviews and stuff, and then when I got in the classrooms teaching at the university level and college level, I realized the books weren't really cutting it with people anymore, and more visual stuff was, and all this kind of stuff. So I kind of abandoned the book and started my service. I like it because it's on demand. I like it because you can actually have a real connection with people, literally. um, you can still have a rapport with people. You're seeing many more students in different walks of life and different genres of music. If you're doing music, for example, it's a real good way to have classrooms or students within a service like that blend together and help each other out. And that's what I preach, that the music business today is not a crabs in a bucket mentality where you step on the other person's head to get out of that bucket for that next gig. It's everybody helping each other out of that bucket.
Yeah, I use that same analogy.
So it's really good for that. And again, it keeps costs down, and technology is a wonderful thing to use. I teach students at the college that I teach at. They're 15, 16 different countries. They're some of the top music students in the world because they're Berklee students, and some of them are not, and they've got to be good to get into the school. And, it's just in an online world or on-demand subscription thing, you can still have that. If you've got a good teacher and you've got good curriculum, you can still have everything that's going to work for you educational wise.
In terms of you started this adventure about 3 years ago, and you said that you thought that you should probably start doing something like this because you had a plethora of artists and musicians coming at you. So this is probably one of the struggles that you've encountered. It was like, too much time. How do I condense all of this and become more efficient? Another one of the struggles that you may have had was actually writing, but you were assisted with your wife. Were there any other aspects of creating this course that someone who is interested in creating a course might encounter and benefit from this?
I think the hardest thing, or the thing that and I deal with this every September when I walk into a classroom with 35 kids or students, not all kids, from different genres, different proficiencies with regards to technology. Some know a little bit about licensing, some know a lot, some know nothing. Never heard of it before because it's relatively new in the music business when you think about it. For an online course, one of the things that's the hardest is to create material on a weekly basis, if that's how you're doing it, weekly basis. That's going to appeal to a lot of people. So, for example, just started a new part of ours that it's I show people how to take a song or songs from their back catalog or stuff they're even writing, and take it from their idea of putting it on Spotify and trying to get radio play and that sort of thing, and taking it to the game marketplace. That's actually about 26.9 million different people who deal with that. So that's, millions of website hits every 2 weeks from Unity, Unreal Engines, all these things. So if you're missing that market and you're a singer-songwriter who's just got an EP or an album out, you're completely, there's money left on the table, as we say.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do that. The challenge is that maybe some of my subscribers are not into games, and you don't have to be, but you have to understand that these people need music in their games, if they're trailers for games, underscore, whatever you write, or podcasters or whatever else. So it's that kind of mentality. So when you're trying to create a course, you're always trying to balance people's abilities in certain areas. It'd be like if you want to teach guitar to 50 people in a classroom, and you've got 6 people over there who are shredders from the 80s style. You got 10 people here who are jazzers. You got 10 people here who are classical people. It's hard to kind of teach the same lesson to everybody at the same time.
Yeah.
And sometimes in my courses, I know even at college and even my online course, you don't have to dig all of it. That's fine.
Yeah.
If you don't want anything to do with, Craig's going to show you how to take one of your tunes and turn it into complete ambience so that you can sell it for this or license it for that. You don't have to do it, but at least you should know about it.
That's awesome. There are a couple of points you threw in there that I didn't even consider at all. So thanks for sharing those. My next question here is, for what's your take? What's your take on, can anyone be a composer?
Yes, for sure. I know I've had students as young as 11, 12. I think our youngest person in the Ignite program is a girl from Australia who's an award-winning songwriter. I think she's 12 or 13.
I love
Uh,
that.
and we've got people in there who've sold millions of records. That's crazy.
Sheesh. All right.
It's,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
bizarre.
So
But yeah, anybody can be a composer. Anybody can be a sound designer. I think that's what you're seeing in the world today too, since Macs have gotten cheaper and DAWs are, free pretty much. A lot of people are out there doing stuff for free, which I'm sure all you guys understand. You run into that all the time, but
Yes,
everybody
guilty.
has the ability, and you don't have to go to university and get degrees and all that. I 100%, I understand that.
Yeah.
You still have to study and learn, because you learn by watching and listening and all, like we always do. But yeah, anybody can be a composer, and that's the fun thing today. It's not back in the mid 90s when I was, paying $200 an hour to go into a studio, professional producer, an engineer, and then, having to buy 2-inch tape that cost 200 or $160 a roll, and none of that anymore. Yeah, it was a costly thing, and that's why it was kind of elitist back then. Now it's not, and I think that's great.
Yeah, more accessible. That's awesome. Can you tell us the difference between a composer and a scorer?
A composer today is anybody who sings songs, writes beats. It's plethora. It's a spectrum of
Broad term.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it is. Sound designers today are composers. Editors, to a certain degree, are composers when they start dabbling with stems and that sort of thing, and sound design and that sort of stuff too. So yeah, a scorer to me is someone that's actually visually scoring. Obviously you're doing you're doing all your hit points and all the stuff all the stuff that you got to do for spotting and all that kind of stuff. But me as a composer, I sit back. For TV, it's a little bit different. When I'm doing films, it's a different skill set altogether on that side of it, with spotting and timings and all that. But when I compose for TV shows, or I'm doing for PGA Tour golf or NHL hockey or NFL football or something like that, that's more stuff that's there to support the picture in a different way. Whereas scores tend to be write the video or write the image, and they're trying to push the emotion that's on screen. Whereas the composer on the TV side doesn't know what emotion is going to be on that screen. It's got a rough idea, but that's about it, right?
Yeah, that's definitely. It's not like a black and white difference in between them. Hey, no, I guess that's why we wanted to ask it, because as we were trying to review it, it's like I see there's some similarities, but also some differences. But it's a little bit clearer now. I'm curious, out of all of your experiences, what was the toughest scoring and or composition project that you've worked on? You don't have to say the name, but why was it so tough?
I won't say the name. I had a very long film that I did, and it was right at the time when I was asked to go teach at this school, this Berkeley affiliated school. So I had to wrap up so many projects before September when it all started, and this film was one of them, and it was probably the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But I'd already signed on to it, and it was probably one of those situations where I had so many projects on the go that I left that till the end, which is against my advice at the beginning of this whole thing, where I said, jump on this and get it done. But it was terrible. I looked in when I was spotting it, I was seeing scenes of people who were in the crew walking around talking, and I was just like, oh God.
Just total chaos.
2 hours and 8 minutes of chaos. Yeah. And, but I'm not going to say the name, obviously, but yeah, it was,
Say the name.
yeah, no.
Just the reaction says enough. The reaction said enough.
No.
That
was bad. That was bad. The other thing that got me I got in a bit of trouble online, because I go online and all that. I say to my composers, my students, my friends, when you have successes, celebrate them. So if you get a cool TV placement, or if you got a cool film or game that you worked on, and I put up one a few years ago on one of my first credits was a show called Toddlers and Tiaras. Did you guys ever hear that show?
Yes.
I've never seen it. I've seen kind of commercials for it back in the day, but it was one of those really bad reality TV shows that looked abusive, and I don't know. Anyway, I put it up there that they used my music, and what the hell am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Anyway, I put it up there, and I got beaten up a little bit online about that. So okay, well, I don't get to pick where my music goes sometimes, But
you get slack for that. Hey.
But that was a bad one. But yeah, that movie was, man, that was bad. That was That was.
We can move past that one.
Yeah,
was there ever a time?
I'm gonna have flashbacks, man. I'm gonna need coffee or something.
Yeah. Time out. Was there ever a time where you had a super, super easy job and you're just like, oh, wow, I can't believe that's already done?
Yeah, I did a TV commercial in about 6 minutes one time. That was pretty cool. Um,
Dang.
and then some other things I've done. If you're working in film, especially if you're working in short film, which there's a lot of cool short films out there. If it's really edited and directed well, those are fast, but they're fun. Um, I just did one for a couple of years ago. Director in Philadelphia that's won. Gee, it must be in 96 different film festivals. It's won tons of awards. That one was fun. But yeah, sometimes the easy stuff comes off pretty fast, and you go, where did that come from? Those are good days.
Yeah, those are good days. I like it.
Hmm.
You said earlier that anyone can become a composer, but I'm curious, is there a certain personality trait that you would need in order to become one of the greats, like stand out from everyone else, the 1% composer?
Yeah, if you want to be up there with the Zimmers and people like that, there's a lot of dedication. I mean, at the Hans Zimmer level, you've got a lot of people working for you as well. But even a lot of my friends who are out there in LA doing this, I mean, it's just hard work. It's fun work. You appreciate the work, but it's a work ethic thing. It's not something you can, slouch off and say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. Even the highest priced people who do games, make 400,000 or 500,000 a game or 800,000 a video game. I mean, they still have to put the time in. They have to put the time in. They have to write stuff. They have to record it. Arrange it, orchestrate it. Sometimes if they're doing that, they don't have anybody. So it's still hard work, and your day doesn't end. It's not an 8 to 4 or 9 to 5 thing. I try to keep my days pretty short because I'm really creative in the morning, and then by about 3 or 4 o'clock, I'm just like,
Toast.
It's toast after that. Then I'll do business work or emails or stuff like that. But yeah, it's dedication. It's not unlike being a house builder. If you love to build houses, well, you're always probably thinking, next time I build my next house for someone, what can I do to tweak it that little bit more to make it more enjoyable for them, or for the people who are going to live in it. But it's dedication. It's not unlike any other profession. You see great painters, you see great sculptors, you see great, people who put tile down in your house. There's some really good people who do it. It's still an art. Anything you can do, and this is a guy coming from a guy who can't drive a nail straight, right? So.
So what is it's commitment, it's wisdom, it's dedication, persistence, consistency, those elements essentially.
And don't stop learning. Like I'm not talking about technology and all that. That's always going to evolve, but just don't stop learning and listening. I find myself going back more to the 70s music and 60s music now, to even because I was born in late 60s, but just to hear how they did it then. I read a lot of books about that from producers and engineers, just to kind of use those things. I was talking to the head of one of the big networks yesterday. He's the head of music, and I'm doing some work for them. And he's asked me how I got this guitar sound, and I told him a little tip that he didn't know about. And so you're always trying to learn something. So you never stop. The best composers never stop. Hans Zimmer doesn't stop. Steve Jablonsky doesn't stop. All these people are out there doing it. Brian Tyler doesn't stop. Junkie XL is a good example. He's always doing stuff. So that's kind of what you do. I'm always manipulating sounds and stuff like that, just to kind of try something new. That's what it is.
Just constantly do.
Yeah, you don't stop. As soon as you stop, you go backwards. Yeah.
Because you've been doing for so long, I'm curious to know, with your wisdom, were there any specific structures that you've come to create, or templates in terms of streamlining these products? For example, you said the short stories can get quite fast. Mm-hmm. Is there any template that you use?
No, and there's a reason I don't. I know even when you go to your DAW, people have templates for classical or orchestral templates for this. Everything is just blank for me. I like to go in fresh.
What about formulas? I don't want to stick too close to the term template.
No, formulas, not so much. I mean, I use a lot of the formulas for scoring films that a lot of the early film composers did in the 40s. Korngold and people like that, using leitmotif development and all that sort of thing, obviously, which is a Wagnerian concept. It's just, motives that follow characters around and evolve. A lot easier doing a film than it is in a TV show, because TV shows are short. So I tend to just kind of, I have my idea of spotting that I do for films or games and that sort of thing. But the real concepts, I try to keep each one open. And what that does is it gives the director or the audio people at the game company, gives them the trust that their game is not going to sound like the last game I worked on, or the director is not going to think that that's the last just like the last film score I did. So try to keep it wide open. My job as a composer is not to write my best hit record on someone's film or on someone's game. It's to take what they've got, add to it. I'm the last person to get it, and push it up just that much more, where it's going to just kind of be a part of the whole dream and vision that they had.
So just before you receive that almost finished product so that you can elevate it, are they coming to you with genre requests, or are they telling you, I'm kind of going for this, do what you got to do, and you know,
Sometimes
unleash
they'll
your
come in
skill?
with, sometimes they'll come in with temp tracks already there. That's already stuff that they put in from other scores or other songs or whatever it might be, just as, you know, have them there just to spot the film. That's happening less and less, which is great because that gets ingrained into them, and then they don't like changes. But for the most part, they'll just send me links, or we'll talk about links to certain styles of scores, like that one I did a couple of years ago. It's got a bunch of awards, received a bunch of awards. They wanted this, you know, 1940s, late 48 kind of film noir-y kind of feel, which is great. I love that kind of stuff.
So that's literally what they said to you.
Yeah, well, they send me a bunch of links. Here's some of the people that composed those scores. Let's have a listen. So that's where I do my research, and then just get the overall feel of that. Sometimes it comes out something completely different, which is great. But I just add my touch to it, and hopefully it works. And
That's
I don't really
beautiful.
have a lot of pushback at all. Like, usually you're smart enough to know, there's a business thing too. How do you present stuff to the people you work with is important too. You just don't go, oh, here you go, here's your score, or here's the latest cutscene from the video game on the, you know, we're doing this up. You present it in a way that you let them know that you understand it, you've done the research. This is why I did this. This is why I did that.
Lay it out.
Once people have idea of why you did something, they're more open to listening to your ideas.
Boom. I like that. Cool. Moving to the next segment. This one is called Community Queries. The first question we've got is from Justin the Flora God. He is out in Florida, and he is a beat producer and engineer and also a podcaster.
My question for someone as prolific as you are is just, how do you lock in and get into that creative flow state? Do you have a set of rituals or a ritual that you use to get into that headspace? Or is it more of a mindset of, hey, I have a project, I need to get this job done? Thanks.
Okay, so he's talking about when I get a new project, how do I get in that headspace? Okay, so if I get a new project, and the way we work in our business, everybody knows in the music business, doesn't matter what you are, you can't pick them. So you have one project that starts on May 1st and ends on May 10th, and the next one starts May 13th. So you have your weekend off, and then you start the next one. They all come in together, or you're sitting around trying to get some. So that's a really good question. So what I do when I get a new project come in, I take a lot of time to listen. I'll go out there and listen to, if it's a film, for example, I'll read the script. If I've got the script, I'll obviously watch the film. And I'm thinking more of feel at this point and sounds. If it's a TV show that they want me to work on, and a lot of times they don't show me that because it's not done, they're going to give me a description. So I'm studying that. If it's a game, which is the most fun thing, because if you get in early on a game project, you get so creative just looking at the artwork as it evolves. You know,
That's
it's the whole game development cycle, and then you start seeing the first development bits and the first milestone. But my first thing is sound, and it's tone. So is this going to be dark? Is this going to be light? You know, what's the BPM going to feel like, say, in the opening, right? Because every opening of every film kind of gives you a little bit of something. You know, is it going to be dark, tense? Is it going to be not giving you too much, a little bit, way too much? But that's the first bit, and it doesn't matter what type of music you're writing. It could be hip hop music, classical music, jazz, dark country, but you're just looking for that feel. And then when I get the feel, I think of the colors. Then I'm looking at instrumentation, and sounds are going to be able to create that. So, for example, today I'm working on a show where I'm taking guitars and doing a lot of slide guitars and just changing the tunings up and all that, and really soaking them in verbs and just start trying to get that darky feel. That's just because what they're looking for. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. It's none of this, hey, it's a project, because everything still has your name on it if you're a composer. It's how I'm going to make this the best it can be. And that's why it's always good when you got great projects.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking at tone, color, the feel, the overall feel, and the pulse, right? The pulse of it. Hans Zimmer is amazing at this. You know, just you listen to his some of the scores, there's always a little ticking in there and stuff like that, mimics the heart rate and heartbeat stuff. But just to get a sense of how I want to feel when I'm watching this, and just I equate it to colors and moods and tempos. And then I just start going in, and then it's a blank canvas. To me, it's blank, obviously, audio wise. To the director or to the game company, it's not. It's got stuff, but I'm going to see what I can do to push that what they've got up. Hope that answers your questions.
Absolutely. I mean, essentially, we're asking about your creative process, and a lot of people would just be like, well, I just sit there and I think about some kinds of things, and then, I write some things. But this was a very elaborate response. So I very much enjoyed it. I'm sure Justin enjoyed that too. Thank you for that. Next question we got.
Thanks, Justin, for the question. That's a good one. Nobody asked me that very often.
Beautiful. Next question we've got is Zara. She is an aspiring artist.
Hey, this is Zara. For today's question is, if someone doesn't play an instrument and would like to begin their music career, how do they start writing the song?
Very good question. Very good question. So at the school I teach at, I have some of the best singers I've ever heard of in the world, and some of them don't play instruments. So this is good. They're great lyricists. They've got ideas in their heads for songs. So someone who doesn't even play an instrument, obviously you should try and learn how to play an instrument. That's always a cool thing. It's good for the hands, good for the mind, good for the heart. But the cool thing about music today is that there's so many people out there you can collaborate with. Just hooking up with people. And this is what actually our Ignite program is going to have a cool component coming up in the future with this. But there's people out there who, are bass players, drummers, guitar players, whatever it might be, and they're very easy to access. So collaboration would be a cool one. So if I was a singer, and I wish I was, I think if anything I could do on a guitar or compose, I'd give away if I could just sing. I would hook up with people who are like-minded, who you trust, who get to know, and share creative experiences. That's the best way. I mean, it's cheap to create these days. Yeah. And there's no need to have, even if you feel like you're held back because you can't play guitar or piano and that sort of thing, there's no need to feel held back because there's other people out there who can do it. For example, I don't write lyrics, so I had to go to people and get people to write lyrics for me. I worked on a video game for kids a few years ago, console game, and I had to get someone to do that. I still outsource work to some of my students who I teach, and pay them work for hires and stuff because I can't play a bass that as good as they could, or a ukulele or whatever it might be. So the best thing is just look at the music world as a community of like-minded people. And there are people out there who are guitar players and bass players who probably can't sing or write lyrics too, but are really good at what they do and can have input. Input's always a wonderful thing. It's just going to elevate what you do. So I would say don't be afraid to make connections. Don't be afraid to put yourself out or your lyrics or your concepts for your songs, even though you might feel held back because you feel like you're not proficient on an instrument.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This community is very much, ideally very supportive, and I do want to volunteer myself. If you guys have any questions, guys, girls, all of the above, feel free to reach out because this is essentially what we're trying to do here on this podcast. Thank you, Zara, for asking that question. Our last question is from Joam.
Hi, I'm Joam. So my question is, how did you start getting music synced, and what was the first sync, and how did it happen?
Funny, actually. Funny story. So I had started submitting some music to some music libraries. And at the same time, I had found a music supervisor in LA who was doing doing the work for a documentary that was coming out. And the documentary was based in Virginia, I believe, and it was about the restoration of an old church. And actually, if you go to my YouTube channel, you can see a little clip. But so what happened was they went to restore this church, and inside it, they found this ancient pipe organ that had been used to create, I think it was America the Beautiful, a big song, and nobody knew it was in there. Anyway, I had submitted some stuff to libraries, and I hooked up with this music supervisor, and I got a call one day from this company in Nashville saying, hey, we want to use this song on an exclusive basis for this documentary. And of course, I was green to this. This is probably 2010, 2009. I said, okay. So they sent me the contract. I didn't know much about it. And this is how the music world works. I contacted a person in St. Louis who I didn't meet or anything, but I just knew him on Facebook. Asked him to look at the contract. He got back to me within 5 minutes, said I wouldn't sign this. So I kind of felt bummed. And then about 2 hours later, I get a phone call from this supervisor in LA I don't even think I'd met him yet. And he stumbled across the same tune and said, I want this tune for this documentary. And it was the same documentary. And I thought,
Look at
well,
that.
that's kind of weird. So I licensed it to him, and on a non-exclusive basis, because I didn't want to give up my rights just because I was so new to the business. So within the same day, I had two different people contact me for the same tune. That was a tune I wrote for, I think, graduation kind of thing from the Berkeley certificate I got, and ended up in this documentary. So, and that's happened many times since. I've had many times, it'd be 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon, I'll get a call from someone in LA, or can I license this tune, or get a call from two different publishers in two different parts of the world. Can I use the same tune for the same show? And then I had to pick who's going to pitch it. So, but that's how it worked out. It was just a weird thing. And then of course I got money for this, and I'm going, wow, they're actually going to pay me to write music. That's cool.
Yeah.
So then I did a hell of a lot of research. I emailed 120 different companies or people within one afternoon. And by Wednesday afternoon, I had about 6 or 10 publishing deals, and that was it.
Guy is effective. I like that. I like that a lot. Thank you so much for answering that. Joem, thank you for your question. You can find her at Joem Music. She is a romantic pop artist out in Ireland. Take that in.
Cool. I love
Yeah.
Ireland.
We've got one more segment for the show. This segment is called Clear the Air.
Oh, that sounds dark.
I feel like that was our transition. Grumpy Sound guy,
What do
that's
you mean
our
you
transition.
feel like that was our transition?
Someone dropped something on the floor there.
Right?
It
We
was
got
me. it
Foley
was
artists in the
myself.
background.
Here, I'll give you this.
Ooh.
Ooh, okay. This is the National Enquirer segment.
Oh no. Clear the air. Clear the air. What we're going to do in this segment is I'd like you to essentially bring clarity to these more dense questions.
I'll try.
How does what you teach at Hollins College School of Performing Arts, a Berklee College music affiliated school, differ from what you teach through Ignite?
It's a different process teaching online. I mean, a lot of the music you can teach theory online. You can teach theory in a classroom. It's just the approach. I came up with the curriculum for the licensing course at Hollins College, and Berklee approved, obviously, because they have to. But it's a little bit different in that you've got to do it at a lot slower pace online. You don't want to take up, my lessons tend to be, 20 to 30 minutes online per week, whereas in a classroom, I get 3 hours or more with my students, and I get access to them every day, right?
Right. Full attention. To.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. Another challenge is you're not sitting in a classroom that looks like an amphitheater with all these beautiful whiteboards and smart boards that you can show everything. I've got to present it in a different way online. So, but the ideas and stuff and all the concepts and all the same. It's just how it's taught is got to be different, because it's just a different online. It's a different setting. It's online.
Very nice.
But it's probably more finite, because the people in that online world want to be there. That's what's cool.
That's a good point. Awesome. How did you choose the name Ignite? Is there a story around this?
No, not really. I was just kind of kicking around some names. I wanted something that was positive, but as in going, Ignite sounds positive. I see too many artists relying on government grants and this sort of thing, and I don't want to get into this right now because it's a pet peeve of mine. But what I'm trying to do, either at the college or what I do online teaching or one-on-one and online or not, is to get people into the mindset where they're running their music business as a business. So Ignite to me was something where it starts as a flicker and just goes up as a flame and keeps burning bright. That's kind of the way I looked at it. Now sometimes your flame goes down a little bit. Mine does too, but you're always pushing forward. And that's the way I look at it. And if you're in control of your business, doesn't matter what business you're in, you've got all the right supplies. If you're, a mechanic, again, we'll go back to the mechanic, or whatever it might be, you have in your storage bin that you're gonna be able to fix everything up for whatever customer walks in. Same tools you have to have in your shed as a musician.
Absolutely.
And I just thought Ignite was a good way to do it. I thought it was a positive thing. Hopefully people think it's a positive thing, but yeah, it starts off with a spark and
Grows into a flame.
maybe it should have been called Eternal Flame. That's what I like.
Oof, that's getting deep here. when we rebrand.
There you go.
What has been the most rewarding part of working with companies like National Geographic, Barclays, Premier League, the NFL, those kinds? What has been magnificent with them?
Well, it's always cool stuff to talk to your friends about at the pub. That's cool, but no.
I bet. I bet.
It's just it helps build your credibility. It gives you a lot of confidence. Like if someone on The Voice on NBC, they're using your music in a show, that when you do have those downtimes, you can always go, you know what? There's not a lot of people I know have their music, but with that, kind of gives you a little bit of confidence that way. The monetary aspect's always a good one. You're paid, royalties for the rest of your life, pretty much. But really, it's just a feeling of doing it. It's cool. Every time I get a new placement on a show, or I'm asked to do a new film or a game, and something does well, it makes you feel like, remember, when you first start growing up, your parents would always say, well, you want to be a musician, you want to be a composer, you want to be a heavy metal rock star. You better get an education, something to fall back on. So now I can say, yeah, I can,
Fall back on these checks.
Thanks for watching the NHL playoffs. I love the royalties. Keep watching.
Yes, I love that. That's awesome. So knowing what you know now, having the confidence that you know now, the wisdom that you've acquired, how would you have gone about approaching this differently from the get-go?
I think I would have just kind of scheduled my time better earlier in the early days, because I started getting placements so fast, and that's the way the world is, because you really do. Anybody who gets some music out there is going to get it picked up. And maybe I should have, I think I've written about 8,000 pieces of music, 9,000 pieces of music in the last 10 years.
Yes.
I probably could have doubled that, so
That's wild.
double that output. So, but yeah, it's, I made a few mistakes along the way, and hopefully not too many, but I think I just would have maybe, budgeted my time better. I think as I get a bit older, you do that better anyway.
Gradually, it's a process. That's awesome. Yeah. You said that when you got the placements, it started off quite rapidly, but was there a time where you hit that first big client? You're like, I kind of wasn't really expecting that, or what did I do to guarantee that spot? Like, did I do something specific?
Yeah.
What was that like?
That's a good story too. So I'm actually standing in class in this lecture hall teaching music licensing. It was in November 2016, it had to be. Anyway, the same music supervisor who got me my first placement, the two duked it out that day for that tune. I had contacted him a year previously, 9 months roughly previously, and said, hey, are you looking for any music? And I'm kind of lucky where I teach, because I can bring in famous producers and people like Ozzy Osbourne's drummer, Britney Spears' drummer, all these people. I know these people, so they can kind of zoom in on our classes and do Q&As, much like we're doing.
That's awesome.
So anyway, I contacted this person, and I just created this idea of repurposing music, which we were talking about earlier. So I'd taken one piece of music that had been in about 50 TV shows, and I dissected it, and I came up with about 60 different pieces of music out of it. So he said, yeah, I'm looking for this droney footage for this 6-part documentary. I think it was 6-part documentary that's going to air on DirecTV. Soldiers embedded in Afghanistan and with cameras on their helmets. It's going to be called The Fighting Season. And Ricky Schroeder, this famous child actor, directed it. I can't give any money, but do you have any cues? So I said, hey, here's 50 odd things I just cut up. He wanted drones and stuff. And I had this piece of music that was in all these TV shows. And he ended up using 6. So I thought, that's pretty cool. Thanks for getting me some cue sheet time. So then no money up front. Then 9 months later, I left class after teaching my license class, thought, oh, it's SOCAN payday. I should log in and see what's going on. And from that one show was $10,000. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Got him.
So it was kind of interesting, because I came up with that concept of repurposing your music. The piece of music had already been in 50 shows. I'd cut it up. He was happening to look for just drones and dark kind of stuff. I just shipped them off. He used 5 or 6, and bang, $10,000. Still pays today.
Still pays today.
I didn't realize DirecTV was that big a network until a couple of years later. My buddy who watches a lot of football said, no, man, that's a major network down there. I'm like, cool. Good to know.
Now I know, and I will not forget that.
So that's just one show. I mean, it's nuts. A friend of mine, he wrote the theme song for a famous Canadian daytime show. He was making $30,000 a month in royalties. So.
Stop this nonsense.
27 years old. 10 years making $30,000 a month.
I don't think I could get used to that lifestyle personally.
28 seconds of music. Crazy.
That's super awesome. That's very cool. Let's shift gears a little bit. In a recent article, that you have in the Rolling Stone magazine. You said that artists who do not repurpose their music are leaving money on the table. We've touched a little bit on this, but let's dive into the article a little bit more. I have a couple of quotes that you've got. Maybe I share them and then we can talk about them.
Sure.
So before going into the studio to record, an artist should be thinking of different ways that every seconds-long fragment of the song might serve a purpose in formats beyond the song itself.
Right.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure. So before I even hit record in my studio, so an example, I just started writing some stuff for myself just for fun. I'm kind of getting into doing some ambient video game fantasy music for fun. So before I even hit record, I know that when I finish that 2-minute piece of music, because that's what I typically write, 2.5 minute piece of music, I'm probably going to end up with 200 pieces of music out of that.
Oh,
so I look at it I look at it in loop ways. So it's very visual. The nice thing about DAWs, it's not 2-inch tape back in the old days. You can actually colorize your stuff and see the little bits and pieces of the information and music. So I go in there with that thought process in the first place. Now I'm not writing hit songs for pop songs. This is something different, obviously. But so I see that. So when I look at my DAW, before I even go in there, I'm thinking of layers and layers, and it's a technique called layering that you use and vertical remixing that you use. But I know when I go in there, I'm thinking about the full song, a 30-second version, a 60-second version, a sting version, each and every stem. So it could be 10 to 20 stems, depending on how much instrumentation. I'm thinking about loops. Thinking about loops and double loops where I take certain layers and loop them together. So at the end of the day, I've got maybe 150 loops and then 20 stems and then 30 different versions of that song. So I've got 200 songs out of that one song, each one registered independently with my PRO. So each one out there for, hey, you like stems and the song, that goes to major networks and libraries. Hey, you like ambience, that goes to game companies. Editors love all this stuff. They can fit it all in together. And podcasters, audiobook people. So now instead of that one song maybe going to one library, there's 50 libraries that I work with, a bunch of music supervisors. So I've got all these places. So that one song became 200 different pieces of music. Maybe someone wants a sting for their logo for their network. So I know the guy who wrote the OWN one for Oprah Winfrey. He makes 25 grand a year off that one little 2.5 second piece.
What is even going on right now?
He's a Scottish guy. I met him in LA. So he wrote the Sting, right? Just a little audio brand. So all these things make money. You look at royalty-free catalogs that are out there for games and podcasters, non-exclusive, exclusive libraries. So that's kind of the idea. So if you are a songwriter, you should go out there and go in your studio, and before you hit record, think about your full version, your instrumental version, your 30-second version of that song. And that doesn't mean cutting it right at 30. You actually have to arrange it for a 30-second version. 2-bar intro max, verse, chorus, out for 30 seconds kind of thing. 60-second version, all these fit in the advertising world. All the stems that people in TV, film, games can do their own mixes. Then you have the game mixes that you can do. Stings. Here's where the lyrics come from. If you wrote a song and it's called Walking in Memphis, that's not going to fit the TV show that's based in LA. Have a different set of lyrics that are more generic, that'll fit everything. So you got your special mix that you made for yourself because you want to release it for your fans. And then behind the scenes, you've got a generic set of lyrics that'll fit anywhere. So in that first set of lyrics, if you've got names of people, names of time, places, evenings, moods, whatever it might work perfectly for your record. Does not work on TV or film or games because they might not be set in those places or in that time. So again, if you don't think that way, you're leaving money on the table or on your hard drive, whichever way I want to look at it. So that's kind of the basis. That's kind of the basis. So instead of me kicking a bass drum or tweaking a bass drum for 6 months, which I tell my students, don't ever do that because, people use those as crutches not to get stuff out. I'll tweak this bass drum. It's still not perfect. I got to take it down. While they're doing that, I can probably get out 1,000 pieces of music, drop of a hat if I wrote 5 or 6 tunes. So that's the concept. And that's the whole idea behind Ignite. That was the idea behind the book. It was to take off those blinders of, okay, record sales, streams, that's it, and go, oh my God, look what the world needs, all of these sounds and music. Everybody's used to this. I built it, and now that's it. Well, you built it that way, but you can build it all these different ways.
Yeah. Craig, you, sir, have changed the game. I was not going into this conversation expecting all of this, despite all the research that I did ahead of time. So thank you for all of that information. I did have other quotes written down, but you pretty much covered all of that. So we are very near the end. I do want to ask you, in conclusion, do you have any final words?
Well, no, I just want to thank you guys. I hope I wasn't boring.
Quite the opposite.
I love talking about this, and I love seeing artists, make money off music. It's important. The whole idea of starving artists being really more creative, that's not true. I'm way more creative when I get a nice fat royalty check or a check that you can drop in your bank account from a film director, whoever it might be. That's when real creativity blossoms, because it's a mental health issue too. People who are doing well feel more creative because they're mentally balanced, their health is balanced that way. And they'll take more chances. And that's what the music business is all about, creating new stuff in new ways and moving people's career forward. So it's always fun to talk about this stuff. This should be an 8-hour podcast. I'd still be going probably.
I'm sure we could. We had to maneuver it to keep it within time. But this is fantastic. I am most definitely going to be following up with you. I will be most likely also signing up for your program. Is there anywhere our listeners can find you or more information on this program?
Yeah, let's go to my website. It's www.taris-studios.com. You can find all the information there. Send me an email if you guys have links on your site, or drop them if you want. But yeah, anybody has any questions, drop me a line. I have no problem at all. Your listeners, I keep an eye on you guys on Instagram, and it's really cool the stuff you're doing. And I think it fosters a real good feeling for people who are trying to be creative and moving forward. And you just don't stop. You got to try things, right? And I think you guys do a valuable job of doing that.
It's much appreciated. Thank you so much for the kind words. Craig. Wow, that was a combination of your first and last name. Craig Dodge.
Good job, sound guy. Grumpy sound guy's got it right.
He got it right.
Thank you.
Finally. Strong start and strong end to the show. Thank you, sound guy. Thank you, Craig Dodge.
All right, thanks, man. All right, cheers, guys.
This episode is brought to you by thecharts.com. If you're a producer or beat maker looking to build your beat commerce business in less time, thecharts.com can help. Remember that you can sign up for free and start selling your beats and instrumentals today at thecharts.com. Big shout out to all parties involved. You can find more value at our website at goproduce.ca. Connect with me on Instagram at go.produce. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you're on Apple or Spotify, make sure to hit download. This will really help us grow our community. I'm Big Lou, and this is Go Produce.